Penal is a sellout. AfriForum. Simbona no Rob Hesoff. Wena usebenzela umlungu mos. Wena uthenga $8 zabelungu. Uyangidakelwa mina, you don't even know what my agenda is out there. I push penalism. I've said I'm non-racialist. I said I'm willing to work with black. I'm saying it. So that if something happens, I'm like, hey, I never said guys don't tuma mina. Ningang tumi. Don't tuma me. Very good afternoon and a warm welcome to the virtual Mkhukhu. Big shout out to all our squatters. Big shout out to all the hustlers from the Hustlers Corner. Guys, if you're new on this channel, please don't forget to subscribe. Please don't forget to click on the notification bell so that every time we drop a video, you are alerted. And then please share our content. Ourselves on the virtual Mkhukhu, our father platform, which is the Hustlers Corner. We appreciate all your comments. We read through all of them. I think we respond to some of them as well. And then a big shout out and a big thank you to all our paying members. We love you. We appreciate you. And it's because of you guys that we are able to continue doing this amazing work. As you guys know, also known as DJ Smooth.
Penuel, the black pen.
How you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
No, I'm alright. How's your
hair?
No, of course. But be fresh, even though, you know, normally I want bakundi kanda for spring.
Yeah.
Winter, but my hair was starting to frustrate me.
But your hair grows quick. Like guys, you'll see. Quick. 2 weeks is too much. You'll see.
Are you good?
I'm blessed. Can't complain.
How's your week been? How's your weekend been?
Yeah, I've been grinding, been putting in a lot of work, been recording a lot of episodes, been doing a lot of real estate work. Attended a crypto conference this past week. Gray was in the country. Introduced me some Bybit guys, some amazing people in the crypto space from Hong Kong. Shout out to Homegrown Radio. We're broadcasting from the conference with our youngsters there. Sister Desiree Thomas, who was also one of the speakers. Yeah, crypto is Bitcoin is coming back. It's sitting at $27,000 now.
Jeez, for one Bitcoin.
Yeah, at least it's coming back. I mean, at some point over the past few months, its lowest was around $14,000 around there.
$27,000. 27,000.
It's about $500,000 around there.
Yeah, it's 460,000 currently.
Yeah,
460,000 rand.
So it's coming
Crazy.
back. What else did I do this past week?
The property stuff you're doing is with the Ekasi Noble
Property Development. Yeah. Doing some work. Shout out to my brother Titch. It was his birthday last week.
Happy belated birthday, Titch.
We're doing some work together with him. Last week I was with DJ Fresh. He's also in property. He does a whole lot of other things. It was just great to be with the big homie. 3 weeks after I was with him on the first episode of his podcast. What else did I do? Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. And then I spent some time with my old lady Ekasi. Yeah. Always
beautiful. Shout out to DJ Fresh. What a week. WAW podcast. I think just to start off, we'd like to send our condolences and our sympathies to the families of Costa Titch and Usisi Gloria Bosman. Costa Titch, I think his father is Greek. His name is Konstantinos Sobanoglu. Umfane wase Mbombela, NL Sprite. Who passed away. He collapsed on stage. I think a lot of people may have seen the video. We still don't know what the cause of death may be. And I think because we don't know, I normally like knowing because it's meant to be a call to action. Wuti guys, please don't overexert yourself. Maybe if you're taking some medicines, maybe if you're in certain spaces, just take it easy. Unfortunately, we don't know what the cause of the death was, but my sympathies and condolences to him and his family. And then Usisu Gloria Bosman had a short illness. She passed away at the age of 50 as well, a jazz icon. I mean, I was just thinking we've also lost in the past Umama, Usbongile Khumalo, who passed away at age 64 as well. So my sympathies and condolences to their families that have lost.
Condolences to them as well. Condolences to Costa, who had just signed an amazing deal with Akon. I didn't know what the deal entailed, but with Akon's history and him being passionate about the African continent, and him having been instrumental through the careers of
T-Pain, Lady Gaga.
Come on. You know, I kind of felt he probably will take this boy to global status. I saw the remix track that they've done together, and then I was like, wow, big things are coming for this young man.
Yeah.
And then sadly, he collapsed on stage. And then it just started making me think of all other young people that have been passing on the past 2 years. I've been seeing people passing on the soccer pitch.
Yeah.
Some people passing on the basketball pitch.
Yeah.
Some people just collapsing, but they wouldn't die. But then they would recover. And then I'm like, what the hell is going on all over the world? Like, these are young people. These are fit young people with great futures. And these young people are good at what they do. So
it doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense at all, bro, you know? It hurts, though. It really, really hurts. Especially when people are young, man. No parent should be burying their child. I've also been watching some clips of Dr. Tony Forbes, aka his father. At least he has been speaking up.
Yeah.
Amazing wisdom from him. But you can also tell that as much as he's hurting, he's sort of slowly accepting that he is gone. But I also think the support that they've received from the country over the past couple of weeks has sort of warmed them up in some sort of way, you know?
Sure.
But I also just like the type of timer that he is. Keeping it cool, sharing wisdom, welcoming everybody who's just been, you know, there to show their support. Our condolences once again to them. A couple of weeks ago, we've got a brand new podcast in partnership with Mr. Paul Mnisi, aka Root Boy Paul, who started his career from YFM. The podcast is called House of Sankofa. Paul interviewed Sis Gloria Bosman. That was around, I think, November or December. Go check it out, guys, on the Hustlers Corner podcast up next door. Incredible, incredible interview. And for those who didn't know who Sis Gloria Bosman was, go check out that interview. It was amazing. I grew up also, you know, on her music. As I was coming up in the entertainment industry, in the music industry, I've always been somebody who admires her, who admires her work and her music. And may her soul as well rest in peace. I will to the family. And also to Costa Titch's family.
Thank you so much, Buddha. You know, I met Gloria Bosman at Rhodes University in Grahamstown many years ago. And I was a huge fan of jazz back then. And I remember she would interchange with Sis Gloria Bosman. There was a performance they do with Tuprahu Masegela. I remember going to watch one of those at the Market Theatre. I just forgot the play, what it was. And even meeting with Sis Gloria Bosman. I hope people go and check out the interview. I know when I saw some of the articles, they referenced that specific episode because it explained exactly her life, where she came from, how she got into the industry and those type of things. With the Costa Titch in particular, you know, I knew about him way before he blew up. I want to send a shout out to Umdeni Wakwankosi, Engodini, in Gwapogweni, in Nelspruit, in Bombela, specifically Michelle Nkosi, because she was the one that kept telling me there's this young white guy, Okulumi Zulu, or Jaiva, crazy.
Did he speak in Zulu?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know.
Reminds me of Joao de Fonseca, who's J something from Mikasa, you know. Some of these white guys that are so plugged into culture, you know, in South Africa. And we appreciate them and we love them. And our sympathies and condolences to the family. It's very sad. It's very sad what's happening. And of course, justice for AKA. We're still keeping that going and we're still pushing the hashtag as well.
It is very sad. And as we've been speaking about Costa Titch's death, somebody mentioned earlier on, I was talking about a lot of young people who've been passing on over the past 2 years.
Yeah.
Somebody said to me, I must go to Google and type died suddenly.
Yeah.
He didn't explain why.
Sure.
And then I went to Google, I typed died suddenly. You probably can check that out as well. Very sad. Negative energy. Negative energy by meaning that Googling people who have died.
Sure.
More than 90% of them are young people, bro.
Yeah. Something's not making sense.
These are young people. Healthy young people with great futures. Actually, a lot of them are athletes.
Sure.
Athletes. Athletes are healthy, bro.
No, facts.
They train almost every day. They're healthier than you and I.
Sure.
19-year-olds, 21-year-olds, 25-year-olds, 29-year-olds. I'm like, these guys are all young. So when they said that, I Googled it and I checked that out. And obviously, a lot of it is linked with a lot of conspiracies since we are coming from lockdowns and vaxes, etc. But for me, just what hurts me is these are young people, bro.
Yeah.
I used to think umuntu on 40 is old.
Sure. Sure.
Now that I'm in my 40s, I'm like, still.
Sure. But now, imagine a 19-year-old. That's a toddler.
That's a toddler, bro.
Yeah.
And then it just hurts, man, with Intwana Zetu border, you know?
Sure.
Even, Keenan, even at the age of 35, bro. He had not really lived to become a proper music legend.
Sure.
And sit back in his 40s, look at his investments and only maybe release music whenever he wants to, but just look at his music catalog and just become the GOAT that he is in his palace.
Yeah.
In his kingship. He didn't live, to that long to experience that later age or old age. And same as WHP, same as the PRO, same as Flabber.
Rick.
Oh man, it does hurt, my brother.
Yeah.
It does hurt. I just wanted to, pause and just let that out. I just don't like it when young people lose their lives.
So, speak about young people. I wanted to ask your thoughts. I mean, we know there's a national shutdown coming up from the economic freedom fighters. Your thoughts around that? Are you going to be joining? Do you support it? Are you against it? Knowing that it's about getting Cyril Ramaphosa to step down and also to end load shedding.
I think we're all frustrated as a country at the moment.
Yeah.
We're frustrated by a lot of the things that are happening. Speaking about these deaths, for instance, there's a show in America, they'd call it, 48 Hours, where they show crimes that happen and the police departments will always say a crime has to be followed up as soon as possible, especially in the first 48 hours when it's still fresh. And it's almost 6 weeks, 6 weeks now since AKA has died. And then you look at that and you're like, yo, will this be another Senzo Meyiwa case?
Sure.
Will these killers be found?
Yeah.
What about all those other people that get murdered on a daily basis who are not famous?
Sure.
What's going on with the crime in this country? When I'm in town or when I see videos of Enorto, Rechos, or Repri, nobody does anything.
I've seen that, by the way. Kade ngibona abantu beshower, specifically they go MTN Brain Word. Ubona umuntu evuza igazi bemgcoba, and people just walk past. That's the state of lack of consciousness we're in now.
And the criminals don't run away anymore.
No.
They either
even
walk
a heel,
away,
bro.
Joe,
Mabekubamba inkunzi.
they either walk away or they tell you to run away.
Sure.
Right in the middle of the day, in the afternoon, in front of people. I'm like, what does that say about our society?
Yeah.
Is this where we are now, that so many criminals are not even afraid of the law anymore?
Yeah.
Then I think of AKA's case. Just across the road, there was a police/mobile police kiosk or police station. To commit a crime that is calculated right in front of a police station. What
on such a popular road.
Such a popular road.
Florida Road. I would say in somewhere in front of a restaurant in Daula Pizzazela Konabantu. It's something else.
That's just crime alone.
Yeah.
And then you look at the electricity.
Sure.
We upload content every day.
Yeah.
We upload podcasts every day.
Yeah.
I run a business. My business is beverages. Trucks up and down the roads.
Cabanga kubi MOFAYA iyabola.
Mfethu.
Cabanga kubi iyabola. There's so many businesses that have collapsed. I know some KFCs. Cabanga KFC. People eat KFC every day. When a KFC has to close, you know there's a problem.
And then I think of other business people who are worse off than we are, at least, as you're saying.
Sure, at least in MOFAYA Eboli.
You know, I've got 18 months shelf life on my product. Even if it's not in the fridge,
sure,
you know,
it's
still fine for the next year and a half. But then I'm thinking of people abathengisa inyama, abathengisa inkukhu,
sure,
abathengisa amakhekhe, abathengisa ukudla.
Fresh produce.
And these are small businesses, abantu abondla imindeni yabo with the little that they do. And then I think of the education system. Then I think of a lot of social ills. And then one thinks of corruption.
Yeah.
One thinks of a lot of these different things that are happening, and you're thinking you've got elections coming next year, 2024. And then you come back and think, okay, cool. March on the 20th. How do I participate? What does my participation say?
Yeah.
If I do get to participate? When I do get to participate, how do I participate? I had a chance on, is it Friday or Saturday? I think Friday, when Mr. Julius Malema had a briefing with the EFF branches in, I think it's in, somewhere in Joes, if not in Bramfontein.
Sure.
Where they were briefing the branches. Oh, I think it's in Orlando. Don't quote me. I don't know where they were. But it was basically saying, wherever you are all over the country, it doesn't even have to be a lot of people. Just organize yourselves, even in some corner. Just protest somehow. But personally, then I'm thinking is that the solution?
Yeah.
protests have been going on since back in the day, even the apartheid government. And protesting is something that is constitutionally allowed.
Yeah.
Everybody can protest whenever they feel like protesting. But then some of the things that one thinks about, and as a business owner, you think of what happened last year during the July unrest in the country.
2021. I know it feels like last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you think, like, you've got other people anyway.
And this is a ripe time for them.
Yeah. And then you think, okay, me participating in a protest like that, will it be violent in some places? Will it make a difference, me participating? I'm as angry as everybody else.
Sure.
It doesn't matter whatever political party they come from.
Sure.
I'm as angry about all of these different things that I've been speaking about. So the march is happening today. It is today. Am I participating in the march? No. Am I angry like all of them? Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Am I doing something about what is going on? We are speaking about it right now. I am not in politics, but my heart is there with them, with their grievances, with their cries, and I'm also crying.
Sure.
To our governing party about what's been going on in the country, and I'm not happy at all.
But Trevor Manuel at some point spoke about how he's no longer a member of the ANC. I know Cyril Ramaphosa, when he came in, brought in Trevor Manuel along with other people to help raise foreign investments. And then when there were certain questions about certain things, one of the things he said is, I'm no longer an ANC member. In the past, you've been seen linked to the ANC, and you're saying now you're not political. Would you be comfortable to speak about if you still have a relationship, if you've decided to be apolitical, and the why?
The main aim of me being apolitical has been my businesses.
Okay. So you're not an ANC member anymore, or you were, or it was just friends in the political party?
I sell products, and my products do not sell to a particular person, a particular race.
Sure.
When you're building a business, your main goal is to build a business that appeals to everyone.
Yeah.
I'm a South African and I'm building a global business.
Yeah.
And at some point in my career, I did see, and I've had chats with my business partners and who have confronted me about in the past having been very vocal and having been out there as an ANC member. And, they had concerns.
Sure.
As much as we're building a business, our business is apolitical.
Yeah.
We want to sell MOFAYA cans to white people. We want to sell to Indian people. We want to sell to EFF members. We want to sell to DA members. We want to sell to ANC members. We are building a business. Don't you think that at some point, because of what you've been even before MOFAYA was created, that some people out there, or the message might just be lost in the air, and people might end up mixing you up in their political affiliations or in political matters, where they either end up boycotting MOFAYA or dragging us, these are my business partners, dragging all of us and the brand into politics.
Yeah.
And I've had to take some time to really think about my public involvement in politics.
Sure.
And a few years ago, I consciously had to take a decision to be away from politics, to be away from working with the government or pursuing tenders. I just had to fully go focus on building this business. It's been the most difficult thing I've ever done in my life. It's still tough till today, although obviously there is gradual growth. But also, I just want to say, just like all of us, or most of us, we grew up being ANC members.
Of course. Almost all of us. A lot of the political parties will mention EFF, Patriotic Alliance, ECOPE, or Achang, even Musi, Nabolindiwe, who were in the DA, or Herman Masha. All of these used to be ANC people. All of them.
Same here. And I'm one of the people that are also disgruntled. And I'm one of the people who are disappointed about what's been going on in the country. My membership, where does it lie? Or am I participating in politics? No, I'm not. I've distanced myself from politics. Do I know people who are, or am I still friends with people who are in politics? Yes, I am.
Yeah.
A lot of them, I have not seen them in a while. I have not hung around them in a while. The circles that I'm in here and some of the things that I'm doing, there's not a lot of people whom I would say, would be my political friends. Do I still hang around with them? If the need arises and we have to hang out, of course.
Yeah.
But I haven't hung out in a while. Or maybe the type of lifestyle that I have been living is probably boring for a lot of people, you know. I don't pop champagnes. I'm not around a lot of, you know, beautiful sisters. I'm not in nightclubs.
Sure.
I'm not wearing Gucci's. I'm not driving big cars.
Sure.
I'm just living a very quiet life, you know, doing what I do, living my purpose, growing my business. And I think not only political friends, I just even think, or I've seen a lot of people who've been my friends over the years slowly detach themselves from me, just move away.
There's also industry friends, just like politics, because there's politics everywhere. Nasispanian. So even in the industry.
Even in the industry.
Same thing. When you're part of this clique, you're part of this clique, and you're like, nah.
No, I mean, a lot of people live in the industry. A lot of people just moved away from me. I think I'm too boring. I'm not living that life. I think maybe a lot of people is like, it's no longer that smooth
100%.
that we're used to. Or even when I do get to go out, or I get to, you know, once in a while go into those circles, it doesn't feel like how it used to feel.
Yeah.
I easily get bored. I don't see any value in a lot of the things that I used to do back then. If I were to, you know, go into it's like even partying.
Yeah.
Even if one is invited to a party, you just go there for like 30 minutes at most, an hour, and then it's like, it's not as fun as it used to. It's like, I'd just rather be, you know, the family man that I am. Rather be with my kids, rather be with my family, rather be recording content, sharing, teaching, rather be involved in my business, rather be with you, recording content. But I don't have any enemies. I'm still friends with a lot of people that I've known. A lot of them, I have not seen them in a while.
Yeah.
Am I still an ANC member? I don't know, but I'm disappointed, and I'm with a lot of South Africans who would like to see change.
Sure.
And I hope change does happen sooner than later. And I don't know, even voting on the upcoming elections, I've only ever known to vote for the ANC.
Sure.
But I'm one of those people that is starting to open my mind up now to be like, why would people love a political party so much than their own country?
Yeah.
Do I love South Africa more, or do I love a political party more
than the country?
Do I care about the future of my kids? Am I satisfied with what has been going on? Am I going to be like those people who are now probably going to start wanting to explore voting for other parties? I don't know.
Sure.
But how I feel right now, I'm disappointed with what has always been our political party, the ANC.
You know, for the squatters out there, just a teachable moment, because, you know, we get accused a lot. By we, I'm talking all South Africans, not us specifically. We get accused a lot of selling out. And you've had situations where even on social media, you'll find celebrities like DJ Spo and other people who have campaigned in the past for ANC. And now those same people on social media are saying, hi, ANC, this and that. And then people pull the files. That was saying these things. And the reality is people change. People's opinions change. Just as a political party's leadership and their vision and the way they implement things change, people change. A lot of people may not know that Johan Rupert, who is known as probably the wealthiest South African, he is second generation. His father is Dr. Anton Rupert. Started off by making cigarettes in his garage. Ended up building a big cigarette tobacco business. And then Johan Rupert, when he grew up, he went and he scaled and he went into luxury goods. But Dr. Anton Rupert was part of the Broeder Bond, the Afrikaner Bond, where Afrikaans people had gathered. Certain criteria of Afrikaans. You had to be a man, you had to be married, you had to be part of a certain church, etc. So he was part of that. And as his business got bigger and got international, he had to leave the Broeder Bond because the business became bigger than what the Afrikaners were fighting for. And he started having business interests around the world. So someone could see that as a sellout, but someone else could see, would know, but I still want the Afrikaner nation to rise. And the best way to do that is to be bigger than what you guys are going to limit us to. One of the children linked to political icons we've had has had this conversation with me where I was asking the same question about Trevor Manuel. And that person said to me, a lot of people use the ANC as a stepping stone to something else. Some of them, they get into business and then they become bigger than the ANC. And the ANC itself ends up asking them for money. And then not just them, but other political parties. If you were following the news, you'd know that Patrice Motsepe came out as one of the donors of the ANC and the EFF. You'll find out that there are certain billionaires that donate to the EFF, to the DA, and to the ANC. That's it. These people are bigger than one political party. So my point is this. Many of us, whether you work for a certain company, whether you play for a certain sports team, Chiefs, so we Shutdown, so we sell out. You're like, no, this was a stepping stone. And I think my brand now I'm playing internationally. Costa Titch signing to Acorn, now he's selling out. That's not a sellout. I'm now big, and this is going to be my way to actually uplift the country as a whole. So people need to understand, as much as Usbu is saying is apolitical, and you're like, and it's like, well, that's one way to look at it. But the bigger way to look at it is, why would you limit yourself to one political party when there's an entire South Africa? Usbu, why push the ANC like the rest of us at a time when it made sense to, because we are fighting certain forces? Once the fight becomes bigger, now you're trying to sell MOFAYA overseas. Now you're trying to push MOFAYA in Cape Town. To limit yourself is not enough. You still appreciate where you come from. Pume Newcastle, Pume Tembisa, Puma wherever. But now you basically have to speak to a bigger audience. And of course, go back to where you come from, Ikaslako, and send kudos to them. But tell Ekasi, guys, I was there then, now I'm somewhere else now. And at any given time, I could be part of a political party. And the reason why Usbu is saying I don't want to publicly be seen linked is because my business interests go across. And now once I become an ambassador, now I limit myself, and it's not necessary. I can quietly, in my own way, still nigga mali to the ANC, still give some of my money to the DA, still help some of my EFF guys to push in certain ways. But me, as a Patrice, as a Johan Rupert, as a Christo Visa, as a Robert Gumete, I'm apolitical. It doesn't mean I don't vote for a political party. It doesn't mean most of my friends aren't somewhere. It just means the work I do goes across. And we must find ways to not bash people who at some point were there because they were fighting a certain fight. Julius Malema, come not the 2024 elections, maybe in 2029. For whatever reason, the ANC maybe has collapsed. And the ANC is asking him, please, can you come back to the ANC? We'll make you president. If it's in the best interest of his political career, if it is in the best interest of even the EFF, if it's in the best interest of South Africans as a whole, because the ANC is one of the oldest, if not the oldest political party on the continent, to rejoin and become ANC president, he will do it. And he will say, look, I'm joining now because at some point he was like, ANC till I die. We will lay our lives for Zuma. At the time it made sense, but life changes. Life is a series, and this is penalism. Life is a series of chapters and seasons. And sometimes those chapters need you to change. People will call you a sellout. It's like, but it's winter now. It was summer. It's winter now. So we change our dress code. Sbu spoke last year about MOFAYA. With the sales are not that great in winter. But then in summer, because it's one of those things. So I think we need to have a higher level of consciousness and thinking and understanding some of these things. And thank you so much for sharing. I think on that ANC talk, I just wanted to ask, as apolitical as you are, because he's not just the president of the ANC, he's the president of South Africa, what have been your thoughts on Ubabu Cyril Ramaphosa's 10 years so far?
I'm going to get into that one.
Sure.
I also just want to raise on this one before you continue, before I forget it out of my mind. I watched an interview of Prince Mashele when he speaks about a potential plan. He believes it is in place.
Yeah.
He speaks about the possibility of Julius Malema being our deputy president. And
in the country.
Yeah. And Paul Mashatile ascending to being the #1 citizen in the country if they succeed in removing President Cyril Ramaphosa.
Jeez.
This is Prince Mashele was speaking about that. Go check out that clip. Some of you guys might have seen that clip. And he sounds very adamant that plan is actually underway as we speak. And he says to the whole country, Prince Mashele, he says, don't be surprised when Julius Malema ascends to the union buildings next year as a deputy president. I don't know. I just heard that clip. I found it to be very interesting. And for him to be saying that he heard from reliable sources that plan is underway. You know, with politics, you can't put anything past politics.
Of course.
You know?
Before you answer, I want to say this. You know, because of the work we've been doing, because of the influence we've been having, some of us are now starting to speak to real decision makers in the country, which gives us a privileged position, of course. I knew about Paul Mashatile coming into his position now way back. And it's because there are certain people that make these decisions in the country. Julius Malema coming in would probably be a compromise if the ANC goes under 50% in the national elections, which some people or a lot of people want. So the compromise would be, because it happens if you study coalition politics, Tshwane, here in Johannesburg, if you study coalition politics, sometimes the compromise becomes, okay, we'll give you our votes, but then you must give us these portfolios, or you must give us these things. And that becomes fundamentally important. And I don't know if John Steenhuisen is that strong a figure that he could become a compromised deputy or even a president in a coalition government. I don't think South Africans would be happy. Paul Mashatile could rise very easily. And part of the conversations even last year, if Patrice maybe has the ears of the leadership of the ANC and he's sitting with us and he's like, Pen, what do you think? And we tell him, look, Mr. Mutsipe, with all due respect, these are my thoughts about the future of this country. You run business, other people run business, we've got foreign investors. Let's consider some of these things. And we actually have the power to influence. And social media has become fundamentally influential. So use your voice. Could be at a branch level, could be at provincial level, could be on social media. There are clips that end up trending on TikTok. And I promise you, politicians at the highest level, they hear these things and they speak to us and they're like, did you see this? What do you think? So it's because of some of you guys out there. And then, of course, leading into next year, part of my responsibility, our responsibility is going to be getting you guys to vote. Not necessarily that politics will change things, but at least to say, whether isandla some matters or not, but ngasiphakamisa. Could be protesting with the shutdown. It could be with the VIT students that were marching for fees. Could be at UCT. It may not mean much, but when it came to spending my money, I chose to buy MOFAYA versus another brand. When it came to clothing, I chose VEPS over something else. When it came to whatever, so it's fundamentally important that you guys. I chose Ipatu, and that makes a huge difference. So you guys have a responsibility, but we're in those spaces, and some of these conversations I know are going to start spiking towards the end of the year and then come next year. But thank you for that.
Now let me answer your question. I don't know if it was former President Thabo Mbeki or it was somebody who said us removing Mbeki while he's still in his position of being president might set a very bad precedent in the country as politics move forward over the next couple of years. Now that comment was said then in Polokwane when Ubaba Mbeki was being removed from presidency. And I actually, now those words ring in my head every time. Even when Ubaba Jacob Zuma was removed, those words rang in my head. Now I can see Uguti now, president of the ANC, no matter how dissatisfied the public or the citizens will be or can be. So kuba sengathi into ukuthi vele mele benjalo noma kuba injwayelo ukuthi a sitting president cannot finish their term in office. And with that being said, when I look at some of the people who participated in Polokwane, you look at Mamngawung, you look at what's happened now also with former President Ubaba Jacob Zuma, and with what's happening right now with Ubaba Cyril Ramaphosa, you can see Guti Julius is a very intelligent politician.
Of course.
Very, very intelligent politician. And as we say, politicians are really smart. And actually, Paul Mashatile is also another intelligent politician.
Yeah. People are still going to get to know him.
Hamba pants. Hamba ngaphansi kwamanzi njenge submarine.
So Ruk disturb us, Buddha. DT Mabuza, as quiet as he was as deputy president, is incredibly sharp, incredibly connected. Speak to abantu basempumalanga. I know a lot of us feel like he didn't make an impact. But what you're saying about someone who's very powerful, very influential, very smart and strategic, he was one of them. It's just sad that we didn't get to see his legacy at that level. Sorry.
Yeah, and he made his choice. And I respect people who know or who can admit, who can reflect and look at themselves and say, Tinga forced.
Sure.
You know, whatever deals they did on the side for him to step down, he stepped down and he resigned.
Yeah.
And, Paul Mashatile ascended. So you are very correct. Itaima Titi Mabuza is another intelligent man.
Yeah.
Hamba pants. We don't know what type of a deal was cracked for him to actually even agree with Zovaya, But according to a lot of people, I know Itama Limnandi, and Itama decided mhlambe ngroti, mhlambe nyasika, mhlambe unoksika sometimes, mhlambe tingtati break resign. ngiyoretire mhlawumbe ngiyoyikhulisela iy'ngane zami ney'zukulu zami
Sure.
ngibheke mhlawumbe ama-business interest wami, that is if he does have, which I think he does. Ubab Cyril Ramaphosa, I was like everybody else in the beginning. I believed in the new dawn. I sort of had some sort of hope because I love this country so much. I'm one of the most patriotic South Africans. And if you listen to a lot of my interviews and a lot of my comments, I've got a lot of hope for this country. I still do. We can never hear me speaking about, hey, our country's going to the dogs. Hey, our country's becoming the next Zimbabwe. You've even heard me say, actually, contrary to popular belief, Zimbabwe is wealthy.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people that believe in that. I believe this is just a narrative that continues to be perpetuated globally. Zimbabwe is poor, things are bad in Zimbabwe. Yes, things might have been bad over the past couple of years, but I'm one of the people who still believe in a country like Zimbabwe. I'm one of those people, even right now, one is seeking for good business or investment opportunities in Zimbabwe because I do believe in that country as much as I believe in South Africa. I love South Africa with all of my heart. I believe we've got a great future, we've got a bright future, but I am not ignorant to say what izinto ayihambi kahle, izinto iyaphetha. Are things the way they were or better than they were during President Jacob Zuma's time? No, they are worse off. Did Cyril make any changes? Has he made some sort of improvements right now? Sometimes I always say to people, sometimes mhlambe one day uzo understand into bengizenza all these years. When you look back and be like, oh, this is what he's been doing all along.
Sure.
By looking at it from that lens.
In retrospect.
And in retrospect, and now we beg for iminyaka eminingi. I might not know now what he's been up to, but what I do know is that the first term is about to end. And has he done some incredible things to make a change? I'm not happy about the privatization of our SOEs.
Yeah.
I'm not happy about us losing our sovereignty as a country.
Yeah.
I'm not happy about some of the deals that have been done under his presidency of letting go of our parastatals.
Yeah.
I'm one of the people that believe that, there's certain things that you just can't sell. And as I'm saying, equally so, I'm a fair person to judge. I can't easily judgments. We are bad. He's only been in for 8 months, man. He's only been in for a year and a half. He's only been in for 2 years. But seeing that now the one term is about to end, I don't think he's done anything great. I think everything else has just deteriorated under his presidency. Is he a great president? I think he's an incredible guy. I think he's probably might have done well in business. But as far as presidency and politics where we are right now, I'm also one of the dissatisfied people. I think he hasn't done a great job.
Do you stand in solidarity with the EFF and other people marching and you'd like him to step down?
As I've already said earlier on, it's been a bad precedent that has been set since Polokwane.
Yeah.
I believe even if the president better, this thing of people stepping down, it'll forever be like that.
Sure.
The next president, when he comes on halfway through their first, their first term, this is what a lot of people will start saying.
Yeah.
And those voices start increasing. And now we have presidents who never finish their terms in South Africa. So as much as I'm dissatisfied, I would still like presidents to still serve their entire terms. And then let's vote them out. Let's vote them out if we believe they're not doing a great job. I believe right now his term is about to end. And I think if we are not happy, let's insist on the upcoming elections to then vote them out if you're not happy. As opposed to presidents just not finishing their terms. Because whoever else is going to come on, it's going to be the same thing.
Sure.
It's just going to be in South Africa for the next many years.
You know, one of the criticisms I've heard about Ibafana, in particular, Bafana, is every time they're not doing well, they fire a coach. And there's no consistency. And if you look at some of the really successful nations in sports, some of them, they stick with one coach over many seasons. No me flop, because that coach has got a vision. And they allow that coach to finish their vision and then say you failed or not.
Like Xi Jinping, right?
Xi Jinping has just been re-elected again. I think he won some 2000 nil or something.
Because I think as a collective,
Yeah.
The Communist Party in China, I think they know their 100-year plan.
Yeah.
And they're on it. And they were like, this is our guy.
Yeah.
No matter how unhappy other people can be.
Of course. So I think about that, and there's no consistency with Bafana. That's sometimes why they will keep struggling. And I sometimes ask, because one of the conversations is, does South Africa need a dictator? One of the conversations is, Thabo Mbeki tried to change, I don't know if it was an ANC constitution, where, because there's a limit on how many times you can serve in the ANC, how many terms you can serve. Do we need a type of leader that's given 10 years? Undisturbed, even if the country's falling apart, and say, let's give them 10 years. They've sold us a vision. They've sold us a plan. We're going to ride through that plan. And only in really, really extreme circumstances will we remove them. I mean, you've got someone like Putin, who also came in, and we've seen his legacy. And even now, and this was a conversation I had with one of the guys in politics, one of the legacies who Putin wanted to leave was to show the world that the West, or America in particular, is not as powerful as people think. And even if a world war breaks out and they lose, all he wants to do is to tell people, don't ever feel like you never have a voice. We will always remind you. There is no such thing as white monopoly capital that will rule forever. There is no such thing as the ANC that will rule till Jesus comes back. There is no such thing as America cannot be contested. We've seen China do it. And we as Russia are also going to show you that if China did it economically, we can do it via the weapons and the military. Uti, don't ever be so scared of these people. Don't ever be so scared of, but you can't go against the drug gangs. You can't go against the taxi industry. You can't go against the ESCOM mafia. No, don't ever be that scared. Even if you lose, give people that hope. But the whole concept of a 10-year, 20-year leadership and say, let's see what you do here. Because maybe this thing of constantly swapping, we're Thabo Mbeki, we're Kgalema, after Kgalema, we're Jacob Zuma, now we've got Cyril, Paul Mashatile. Is there consistency? And worse, it looks like all of them seem to have a different vision. And they are not keeping to the Freedom Charter. And they're not keeping to ANC policies from back then. Education. To this day, all fees must fall. EFF was formed on the back of Julius Malema as an ANC Youth League president, saying, but you guys have not addressed the nationalization points that you guys raised back then. You haven't discussed land. And now we're getting suspended, Nabo Floyd. So we're going to go and fight this thing. Why are you guys not implementing? Yes, we've seen these different leaders, but now policy that we decided on still. Paul Mashatile now maybe, and now still about the land, about the economy. What are we doing?
Two things that you've just mentioned. For those who don't know, I've just heard Mexico. We all know about the history. Well, not all of us, but I think a lot of you guys would know about the history of Mexico and how America took advantage of Mexico, the country, back in the day, many years ago, white supremacist system, and what happened back then. An interesting thing that now I've just heard with Mexico has just joined the BRICS.
Huck. Hey, speaking about BRICS,
Yeah.
So sorry, I'd like you to answer on the long-term leadership, but I just want to say this quickly, and maybe you can add to that.
Yeah.
Speaking about BRICS, in August, the BRICS nations are going to be in Durban, in South Africa, and Vladimir Putin has said he's going to be here. Which now causes tensions with us and the US, with Ukraine, etc. Officially, the International Criminal Court has issued a warrant of arrest on Vladimir Putin. Russia is not a member of the ICC. Funny enough, the United States of America, which helped create the ICC, is not a member. Ukraine is not a member. There's 123 countries. South Africa is one of them. And what is expected as a member or signatory of the ICC is that if someone who has been accused of crimes against humanity, etc., genocides, if they step into your country, you have an obligation to arrest them. We had the leader of Sudan, al-Bashir, in South Africa.
It was 5-6 years ago.
Who came into the country and then left Snazi back door. And it was like, but you guys, now Putin's going to come, and now the pressure is on South Africa. If Putin comes here, America's going to look to us. Arrest this guy, there's a warrant. And what are we going to do?
Why can't they arrest him themselves?
That becomes the question. Why not arrest him? You guys know where he is. But the USA is not a member of the ICC.
Yeah.
Russia is not a member of the ICC. Who gets to decide this person must be arrested on whose jurisdiction? Based on who gets to dictate these things? Yabo ukujwayela abantu kabi in their homes. Sengiyafika eThembisa kuseshana usibuda kuthiwa wena uphumaphi. Wena uphumaphi uzositshela ngoba intwana yekhasi lethu le. Uyafika wena emadadeni eNewcastle uzotshela hey uphenwele sengathi uyanidakela kuthi uba wena. We sometimes forget some of these things, and because people don't understand politics, we have to simplify it in a way that they understand. Putin ngendlela yakhe wazi ukuthi those that understand USSR and the Soviet Union khona umhlaba lapha eUkraine wazi ukuthi wakubo. Njoba nathi silo ukuthi lo mhlaba wakithi. Mase kuyaliwa mase kuthiwa it's a conflict and it's a war, and us understand. We don't understand those things. Next thing, sekuthiwa no, pick a side. Boko Haram, Muslims in Nigeria were saying, as a Muslim awenzi kanje. Kwathiwa no, sesolungisa izikolo, sesofaka umthetho. Ingane zala zofunda Islam, fana nathi uthi singene izikolo sipatshela no, nizofunda isintu. Bese kuthiwa no, ibhoko Africa. Ibhoko Africa izofundisa izingane ukuthi nomele bashisa impepho. Are they burning things in class? Now all of a sudden they're wearing bare shoes. It's disgusting. Nizotshela ubani for what? So anyway, Putin's coming into the country. Well, we hope he's going to be coming, or we hope he won't, in Durban in August. And we're going to see what that's going to do for South Africa. Because we've had that Al-Bashir situation. We've had situations now where Ona Lady Pando were expected to pick a side. And they were like, no, we're going to remain diplomatic. China was diplomatic at some point. Then at some point, China said to Russia, say, man, king about it. Because we're in the same WhatsApp group, BRICS. Let us know, secrets, Konala.
Now, we do know the biggest advocate of BRICS was Msholozi. A lot of us did not understand at the time, but we understand the BRICS agenda right now. And there's a video that I've just recently seen of an old speech that Msholozi made. And in that speech, he seems to be saying, the BRICS bank or the BRICS idea was proposed by South Africa. I didn't know. He says that verbally himself.
I didn't know that.
BRICS was actually proposed by South Africa.
Yeah.
Anyway, with that being said, with the current presidency and looking at our president, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, and being the businessman that he's always been, even when he was ascending into presidency, a lot of us believed he'll probably make a difference. But we've seen what has happened over the past couple of years.
Yeah.
We've seen with the selling of the SOEs, let me say the privatization of our
state-owned enterprises, parastatal.
Yeah, our parastatals. A lot of people have been saying, but it seems like our president is captured by the West.
Sure.
If our president is captured by the West, and South Africa is one of the countries that belongs to BRICS, where does that leave us when our leader is captured by the West?
Yes.
And we do know with BRICS, the main person who was the biggest advocate for it was the former president.
Sure.
If I were to ask President Cyril Ramaphosa right now, I'd ask him about BRICS and about his commitment to, I'd call it a BRICS checklist as far as South Africa is concerned. I doubt he would be as passionate, or he is as passionate about the BRICS agenda as Msholozi was.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, that was my second point was going to be about Putin's warrant of arrest being out.
Sure.
And obviously I was going to say, it's going to be interesting to see who's going to arrest him.
Singanikhombisa bafethu ukuphi nami niyombopha niskiphe thina.
Asingeni lapho.
Two is in Moscow. Apparently he's in Moscow, America, Joe Biden. Two Putin is in Moscow. Ngicela ningeze la eThekwini, please.
With that being said as well, you've got, what do they call it? CBDCs. This rumor and these voices are starting to get louder and louder of the CBDCs being implemented anytime from now. CBDCs are central banking, CBDC, central bank digital currencies. Yeah, central bank digital currencies. And the World Economic Forum, Abu Klaus Schwab, Abu Bill Gates, and just the entire elite gang, and all these wealthy guys and all the people that run the world have colluded with corporates, with multinationals, with big companies, in the centralization control of the world using CBDCs.
Awuthi ngiyifunde lento sibuda ngoba nami ngifuna ukufunda la.
Ngicela uyifunde lapho. CBDC, yes.
CBDC, I hope I'm on the right thing.
Central Bank Digital Currency.
A central bank digital currency, a CBDC, also called a digital fiat currency or a digital base money, is a digital currency issued by a central bank rather than by a commercial bank. It is also a liability of the central bank and denominated in the sovereign currency, as is the case with physical banknotes and coins.
There's a very high probable situation that just might happen because these voices are getting louder globally. Would one day we're just going to wake up and try to go withdraw our money from the ATMs? And don't quote me on this one, but it's just being said, and it's a rumor that's just all over the world. Good, we're just on the brink of. Others are saying we're already in a recession, but others are saying we're going to wake up one morning, try withdraw some money, not get our money, go to the banks and try and get our monies, not get our monies,
sure.
And people will revolt. And apparently this is a big plan of the elites of moving from the old cash-based system to them rivaling the blockchain technology or using the blockchain technology to create digital currencies for all the countries all over the world.
Sure.
And apparently the idea is to have the world use the Chinese system of what they would call a social credit system, where you get given points or you get judged with everything you do.
Yeah.
In China, there's cameras everywhere. If you're going to be on a road rage, you're going to be tuganing with someone, you are fighting on the road,
sure.
You're not paying your bills on time, or anything that you do, you're losing points. You're losing points. And then you get into a certain category, you probably are not allowed to fly. You get into a certain category, you probably are not allowed to buy this or that. You can only buy food, or you can only buy things within your region. You can't get out of that region and buy them elsewhere. You can lose points. So it's a sophisticated social credit system, that's what they call it, that apparently the plan is to have the whole world use that system. And how they will control it is the World Economic Forum gang using these CBDCs, Imali.
I like that you call them a gang.
They are a gang. I remember when we first started recording episodes, I think it was about a year ago.
Sure.
There was an episode that you recorded and some clips went viral.
Sure.
Where you were saying these are all gangs.
Sure.
The ANC, these are, maybe you can expand on it for those who never saw it.
Sure.
When we're talking about these being all gangs.
I wanna put you guys on Netflix, Black Mirror. Probably the best series I've ever watched. It speaks about technology and the dangers of technology and the future of technology. And one of the episodes' titles is Nosedive. And in Nosedive, your value as a person is based on social media likes and reactions. So you want to be liked, because then with those likes, you can go and buy. And if people don't like you, you become poor. These concepts are not new. If you go all the way back to Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes' Demolition Man, where there's social currency and social value.
There's also that movie, I think it's Justin Timberlake,
In Time,
where I can give you some time of mine and go,
In Time,
and I charge you with time. Sorry,
Sure.
continue.
No, that's dope. These are some of the concept movies we watch. And look, these movies are made, and I'm not sure egg or chicken, which comes first. If there are people that are saying the future of the world is going there, so make a movie. Or if someone makes a movie and then the people that run the world say, that's a good idea, let's try it out.
But they say the people that run the world do these things and they tell us and they hide the truth in plain sight.
Sure.
Because apparently if they don't tell us, then they don't have our consent. But if they tell us through movies, it means we're alerted.
And yes,
we never
Tambis
did
as
nothing
well.
about it. Yeah.
And yes, Tambis, as they make more movies, we start maybe craving.
Predictive
We'd say, this would be nice.
Predictive programming, right?
Yeah.
So
that's the one. And subliminal messaging as well. Just to touch on gangs before Spuda goes on, the world we live in is run on gangs. Everything is a gang. It could be called an organization, a council, a committee, and whatever it's called. But the world is run on gangs. And gangs obviously measure geography, locations. As you know, the drug guys, by actually would know, Ekasi, stay away. Same with the taxi guys would know, lama route, lawa petwe ile association, noma petwe lumdeni, etc. Same thing happens at an international level. World Economic Forum is a gang. The United Nations is a gang. BRICS is a new gang. And then Baba with their own stokvels, which is the World Bank, which is the IMF, the International Monetary Fund. And then some of these fights that you see happening, the Russia, Ukraine, North and South Korea, and those are just gangs fighting over territory, as per usual. And then obviously they get people to choose sides. One of the things I wanted to say when you were speaking about Ramaphosa and maybe his allegiance to the West, And we spoke about parastatals and SOEs. Energy is one of them, where you're seeing they're giving us $8.5 billion, but bona, they chowing our coal, which doesn't make sense. Part of that is now you ask your country, which gang does it belong to? And most of that is normally based on trade. Who do you buy from? If our trade partner is America or Germany, more than maybe a China, we'll say, well, we're part of this gang and they'll protect us. Magliwa, they'll bring their weapons, but I know we've got you covered. If China becomes our bigger trade partner, a similar thing happens as well. And because South Africa trades with a big chunk of the world, we kind of get to proposa in different gangs at different times. But sometimes I'm a gang, I have beef. I'm when I situation. Cyril and whoever his funders are, now it goes deeper. His funders may have business interests somewhere. So one of our mates is Ukray Jabez, who's big in crypto. And Ukray runs a lot of his businesses from Dubai. So we do business with Gray, and let's say in the future, Gray sponsors our platforms, the virtual Mkhukhu, the Hustler's Corner. And now something's happening in Dubai, and he makes his money there. And now Dubai is beefing with South Africa, or Dubai is beefing with Zimbabwe. And Gray says, no, you guys must stick with Dubai. And we're like, no, we can't, because we have a good relationship with Joshua Maponga, Rutendo Matinyara, Ramachitetu from Zim. No, we fund you guys, therefore. So you might find to Cyril, some of his funders have got big business interests with certain people in certain geographies. And therefore, they tell him, you have to go meet with King Charles. You have to go meet with Joe Biden. You can't be seen too close with Xi Jinping. You can't be seen too close with Vladimir Putin, because Tina Jobasi knew, or says ANC knew, this is what happens. And then comes that conflict, because you might find that's Cyril alone. But other ANC members, other people that fund the ANC, they're like, no, Tini Nyuguyetu comes from China. Inyuguyetu comes from the Middle East. So Tina, we're telling you, Melis into Ishayoganj. We've had load shedding reduction since Sputla came in. Minister Sputla.
Minister of Electricity.
Minister of Electricity.
Sure.
Some people are attributing it to the national shutdown. Some people are attributing it to the fact that Andre Derrida left. And now you start thinking, going back to gangs. Are there gangs in Mpumalanga that run Eskom and Supply who said, Kipa nomlungu? Na Kipa nomlungu senza show to Kesuyabuwe. You'll say it's a new minister, you'll say it's the EFF shutdown, you'll say it's Andre Derrida. But Tina, as long as in Fage Lomchita lo, and Lomchitu funu kufaga machita akhe, his own gang of Mhlampa Mapunu, utazodla la, so enza show ukuthi things get collapsed and they sabotage, we'll make sure. Same with South Africa. If you guys are not pro-America, we'll make sure that certain things happen. We saw the trade war with China and America. Certain things that you guys want from us. If Eskom needs money as I'm in America, we won't go to our stock fairly IMF and World Bank. You guys will be in trouble. And now you start having that situation, and that's where you have to start balancing. And I want to bring it back home, because I always love bringing these things back home. I'll use MOFAYA as an example. I just won't mention the other brands. There are international American, some on the African continent, energy drinks that sell in South Africa. Now, when it comes to using your money, this is now picking gangs. Utenga Blue Magic at Denzel Washington, you utenga the competition. Do you put your money here in a proudly local, proudly South African brand which invests in local Ekasis, which educates you guys locally? Do you invest in an international brand somewhere else? Let's say the international brand is cheaper. Let's say it tastes better. Let's say it's more accessible. But now if you invest in them bullying your country and your family with whatever their agenda is. The day usuvuka, no, baba. With the money you've been giving us, we actually get to dictate. Otherwise, in your lamp. Now, what happens now when you start working for that international company? Yeah. I'm a mosquito and bees. Black Mirror, go watch it. There's a Hated by the Nation, my favorite episode.
Yep.
Where we've got these digital bees. Anyways.
When you tell mosquito mosquito, robot lo mosquito.
There's a green laser that's constantly pulsating at the back of this watch. And you have to ask yourself, this green laser that's constantly blasting my skin, radiation, what is it reading? Because it can read heart, pulse, voice.
Is that an Apple Watch?
No, it's an Android Samsung watch.
Oh, okay.
So we have to worry about some of those things. Anyway, so you're working for this international energy drink to feed your family. Ulambile, it was the one company. What's Buddha? So we're like, okay, let me sell out and go work for this company. This is now Cyril. Now you're working for this international company, and now people are saying, but what about local businesses? What about, why the company when Kandeli sponsors America? And you're like, but this company pays me. What we call white monopoly capital. Stop working for this company. And they're like, what are we going to eat? And have you guys got a part that I can go work for? Have you got a MOFAYA supermarket? Have you got it? And now you're going to pay me? School fees. So all of us in one way or another speak about gangs and those things. We sell out. Every day we purchase the companies we work for. Abantu that are going to be at the shutdown, but if you look at where they spend their money, if you look at where they spend their labor, it's exactly what the people that lead to your oppression.
Simple example, also musicians in the entertainment industry consistently asking for South Africans to buy their music.
Oh, come on.
As soon as they've got the money, they've got a Gucci on their chest. Anyway.
No, that one is so important for the squatters and the hustlers.
And politicians too.
Politicians
not only just entertainers, yeah. We ask for the people, we ask from the people, we ask the people support us. But once we have it, we don't spend it back to them. We take it, we go to Europe. But we're the same ones who are going to come back and say, hey, I belong with this, I belong with that.
And it's sad. And the question, again, this is the dilemma now Cyril has. And I mean, I've got people know I've got issues with Ramaphosa. But this is the complexity he has. You have a vodcast. You're trying to push. You pitch to MOFAYA. Hey, no, we can give you drinks, but that's not new. You pitch to an international energy drink, and they say, not only will we give you stock, we'll give you merch, and we'll give you $1,000 per episode. Do you say no? You say no? You have to eat. You have to shoot.
Yeah, you can't.
But now tomorrow, that same brand, for whatever reason, decides to monopolize vodcast, and they start saying, no, you can't speak about MOFAYA on your platform. No, you can't wear these South African brands. We need you to wear Nike. And you're like, no, but no. And you become the face of the destruction of your own neighborhood. You have been co-opted into becoming an ambassador of the oppression of your own people. But now, and look, some judge who's Huma and the links with the Guptas and those, but no one is yet to tell us, because they couldn't say it, because the ANC is funded by international people and they have international relations. So we speculate, and that's where the conspiracy theories come from. Who is going to tell us, Zuma and the Guptas were trying to take us away from other people and make sure that we invest in local so that we have our own power and our own voice? So that the news that you guys are reading are not telling you, Russia is bad. And they're not telling you, America's bombing Somalia. And they tell you, Paza shops are funding terrorism in the Middle East. But they're not telling you that every McDonald's burger you're buying is funding the military in America, which are seen as terrorists in some of those other countries that they're bombing, like Somalia, Afghanistan, Iraq. They get to dictate. And so feel, Ramaphosa, ANC, you. Which energy drink are you buying? Which clothing brand are you wearing? Which podcasts and vodcasts are you supporting? Which platform, YouTube, are you posting this stuff on? Or TikTok, let's say China. And all of us become complicit. And shout out to Julius Malim and the EFF for the protest. They're using their constitutional right to protest against what they don't believe in. But how much local support do they have? Do they give? What brands are they supporting? What platforms are they going onto? Where are they getting young people to go and say, guys, support them, go there, so that Sfuni Part, we fund the EFF, Sfuni Drip, ifund the EPA, Sfuni MOFAYA, ifund the ANC. Because China has done it. You see in the way they move. America does it all the time. That's why they'll fund an Elon Musk, they'll fund a Jeff, because they understand the power of patriotism. See the same in Germany with your Adidas, with your BMWs and your Mercedes-Benz and other brands. Tina, our government doesn't have a patriotic agenda. The apartheid government, and I know Vusi Tembewayo got bashed for this. The apartheid government was patriotic. To this day, Huis Genoot as a magazine is the highest selling magazine in the country. Amapuno are a minority.
Till today.
Sure. Afrikaans literature is the highest selling fictional literature in the country. The DSTV and multi-choice you watch is Afrikaans under Naspers. If you look at the biggest retail chain in the country, ShopRite, that's an Afrikaans brand. Pep is an Afrikaans brand. IABSA came from Volkskas, an Afrikaans bank. They were very intentional about investing in South Africa. They built Sasol so that we can have our own petrol stations. They built Eskom so that we don't have to go next door for Ekasi. They were intentional about patriotism in this country. Apartheid was an atrocity, a bad atrocity. But if you are a dynamic, lateral thinking human being, you know that you can take the good even from the bad. You can see your worst enemy and be like, I like the way he treats his children. I like the way he always makes sure that his family eats first. I like the way he went to go and build a homestead in Kandla instead of having a mansion in Houghton. I may hate him, but I love the fact that he loves his family. I love the fact that unokusukuma gide asine afika phuza utshwala bezulu afika khuluma izulu acule. I hate him. 9 wasted years. Him and the Guptas are so bad, but he's a loving father. He's loved by his people. He's built a home back in Kandla. You speak about the Stellenbosch mafia. Maybe one day we'll have in Kandla mafia. Because Ubaba Msholozi was intentional about Nkandla. Kandla's falling apart and a lot of work needs to be done there. But anyways, I'm just saying all of us have got, with our rand, with our labor, with our platforms, we have the ability to prove whether we are patriotic to building this nation or whether we, like Usbuda was saying about the musicians and the entertainers. But again, it becomes a money thing because you're like, if Gucci comes and gives me merch and money, do I say no? Or do I take this and then go to a party and a trip and say, guys, I got this offer. But because I'd rather if we end up making sales, give me a share, like Yeezys. Give me a share of that thing and that's cool and song, like Air Jordans. So Mizi did a deal with Patu and other people have done deals with Double Trip. So how do we build this nation so that we become a sovereign nation that is proud of who we are and the rest of the world? Like Omapian, like Black Coffee are saying, I love South Africa because they love themselves. God bless South Africa and nowhere else. God save our president, as an example. But we don't have that type of patriotism. We'll sing God Save the Queen. It's king now. We know the Star-Spangled Banner, the American anthem. We know what's happening in China. But in our own spaces, we support Chinese clothing. We support international American brands. We support German engineering. We support all these other things. And we're basically saying fuck you to every South African thing and everything we're trying to build in this nation. And again, your president, your political party that's ruling, they get funded by these people. And the question becomes like you, Lauspanakon, are you a sellout or are you taking that knowledge and sending it back home? And we're always calling people sellouts, but look in the mirror. Michael Jackson said it. If you want to make a change, look at the man in the mirror.
2 questions for you from me before we wrap it up. The first one is clarity, as the rumors which are still going on even today is that former President Jacob Zuma voted with the West for the elimination of Gaddafi. How true is that? And what is your understanding as far as that's concerned? Number 1. And then number 2, my last question to you will be today's strike. Oh, not strike, man. Protests.
Sure.
20th March, today's protest by the EFF. Your opinions.
I'm going to ask a favor from the squatters, man. This is coming off my chest, and Ngiyaxolisa Sbuda for putting you on the spot. We drop the virtual Mkhukhu and the Hustlers Corner on Mondays at midday. Last week, we dropped the virtual Mkhukhu at 10 o'clock in the morning, but it overlapped. And all I'd just like to see in the comments, that's all, it's my request. Would you guys like to see us dropping on different days, different times? And let's hear what you guys have to say so that there's no clash. And just to let you guys know, we do pre-record these. So the reason I'm asking is because we don't know when this episode will be dropped and at what time. So from your side, moving forward, for now, would you guys like to see the virtual Mkhukhu dropped on a different day? It could be a Tuesday at midday. It could be a Monday earlier or a Monday later. What would you guys like to see? Understanding all the various podcasts that drop on a Monday. Because I understand you don't want to watch something secondhand. You don't want to watch this and then have to recap because I want to have already seen it. You'd like to watch something fresh. My Puma. So to the virtual squatters out there and to all the hustlers that support the Hustlers Corner as well, please drop down when you guys would like to see us drop so that it doesn't interrupt your viewing. I know it bothers me. On a Monday, come 12, I'm like, Hustlers Corner, virtual Mkhukhu, it becomes tricky. So I'd like to hear from your side when you guys would like to drop. To answer your question, Sbuda, so it's a conspiracy theory. I've never heard anything like that. My understanding is that Jacob Zuma had a really good relationship with Muammar Gaddafi from Libya. May he rest in peace. Muammar was a huge champion for the African Union. He wanted Africa to literally what's being in discussion now, remove visa requirements. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma was the head of the AU at some point. She has a continental passport, last I checked. So in any country on the African continent, she can travel without needing a visa. which is something we need to fix, especially with countries like Nigeria. It doesn't make sense that I need to apply for a visa to go to Nigeria. If we're trying to create trade, create your borders. It's your home. Create your borders, have a gate. But as soon as I come there with my South African ID card, you're like, you're my brother. Or America, or Germany, or Japan, those guys are foreigners. Those guys must pay a fee to come visit our continent, our very, very wealthy continent. But as an African brother, sister, your ID should be enough, or your African passport should be enough. So Muammar Gaddafi was trying to push that agenda. A lot of people, I know Julius Malema is part of the African Union currently as a representative of South Africa. They're still on that, but they're not pushing it aggressively. And it goes back to Lenta Dengishu, when you're funded. A lot of the people that hated Jacob Zuma were white, rich South Africans who have been funding the ANC during the struggle. People that were friends with Nelson Mandela, the Oppenheimers, the Ruperts, other such families, they were saying, we understand your fight. We can see that you're very passionate for your people. If there's one thing Amapuno understand, they know this concept of for your people. You are very passionate and we'd like to help you. So we'll fund you. The irony of Cyril Ramaphosa being president of a country now where there's a national shutdown and he led the biggest mining strike back then. Years later, he'd own shares of London Mining, Lonmin, and he would be implicit in the gunning down of miners that were marching. And today he's president now and he's saying we will take action if the strike is out of hand. The Story of Animal Farm by George Orwell. So these guys funded the ANC back then, and they've been funding the ANC since. They were there at CODESA. They were like, look, you guys will work with the National Party to do a handover transition. Nelson Mandela was a figurehead and he was amazing and everyone loved him. Compromise. Thabo Mbeki came in and he said, let's grow the economy. So since I was expanding Nongamla to build Muzwala Ekaya, let's build relationships with Nongamla so we can become rich. Jacob Zuma came into the social aspect and a lot of money was pumped into social welfare at the time. At the same time, corruption then became very popular. But while Jacob Zuma was doing that, Jacob said, why njalo ANC kumele soke sicela imali from the same Nongamla? Because then we have to make sure that the state-owned enterprises, some of government tenders have to keep going back to these same guys. At which point do we start saying, no, siyabonga ukuthi Gucci or whatever energy drink has been funded, siyabonga. But some of these profits we're now going to pump into MOFAYA, into Party, into Drip, into Costa. And these people are like, no, that's corruption. And you're like, no, but not is funu ukvuga. The only way to get land that was taken through crime, where the law is not fair, is to steal that land back. And that's now called a land grab, illegal occupation. This is private property. So my conspiracy theory is some of those people in the Zuma camp, not Jacob Zuma himself, were trying to do that. And then it looked a certain way because those incumbents were angry. Come the golden boy Cyril, who they've been doing business with, who was head of the biggest mine workers union at the time. He's been given shares. He's become a BEE glory boy. He comes in and they're saying, we don't want the same thing to happen that happened under Jacob Zuma. Because after you, maybe a Paul Mashatile, maybe a Didi Mabuza, maybe a Lindiwe Sisulu comes in and they carry on with the work that Jacob Zuma was trying to do. Maybe a Muammar Gaddafi was trying to do on the African continent. So we need to fundamentally change this and we need to fast track what we've been trying to do since Mandela, which is to privatize. I said this when I spoke about Eskom, that Thabo Mbeki was the first person to try and sell Eskom and he failed. So they're saying, go carry on with the work. We don't want it to be state-owned because the EFF might come in future with Julius. And if they own Eskom, if they own, let's say, a Telkom, if they own a Sasol, if they own all these strategic monopolies and industries, we as white monopoly capital or as the West, as foreign funders, we won't be able to make money. So what we're going to do is we're going to ask you to offload all of these things to us in the private sector. And the nice thing, Cyril, my boy, is when you come back, when you leave politics, because you're already in business with Ishanduga, your brother-in-law Patrice, your brother-in-law Jeff Khatebe, your business partners Glencore will make sure Astron Energy, will make sure Glencore, will make sure Shanduga, will make sure African Rainbow Minerals Energy and Capital and banking through Time Bank will make sure that you guys are sorted. And then if the EFF comes in, if the Patriotic Alliance or the IFP or the DA come in, they come into an empty government position where they own nothing and the private sector gets to dictate. And any wannabe black Gupta Indian person that wants to come in won't be able to come in because we'll be running the country from an energy perspective, which is key to the economy, from an internet connectivity perspective, from a food perspective with farming and grocery stores, from a clothing perspective, from a media perspective. We saw Ubabu Mzwanele Manyi, where he had ANN7, The New Age, which initially was owned by the Guptas, the healthcare industry. It's been closed off and they can't do it. And anyone who tries to do it then will be deemed committing a crime. Anyone who tries to be Inyanga or Isangoma will be called a voodoo doctor and they'll be jailed. Anyone who tries to get Umhlaba Wagubo will be called an illegal occupant and they'll be jailed. Anyone who tries to create their own NH, my own little ESCOM, it will be called a violation of whatever, and they need to get an IPP license. Anyone who tries to open a little bank, it will be called a violation of the Banks Act, etc. So Muammar Gaddafi was trying to make a sovereign African nation. One Africa, 1 point whatever billion people we have here, like a China, like in the United States of America, like the European Union, where with a Schengen visa, you can travel anywhere in Europe. He wanted that. And it was seen that, Barack Obama, who are not called terrorists, who are not called, what they did is not called crimes against humanity or war criminals with George Bush. When they send people to Iraq and Afghanistan and Iran, and people died, where today still Joe Biden, they bombing places in Somalia. They came into a sovereign nation. There. Or Zuma now, because they compromised, because they get funding from some of these people, because they work with some of these people. What do they say? Does Zuma go on national television and say, I condemn what America did? Because America's going to backlash and say, we heard what South Africa said, and we'd like to cut trade. When you cut trade, McDonald's shuts down, KFC shuts down. We can't get Nikes, we can't get Air Jordans, we can't get certain energy drinks.
That's in Zimbabwe.
That becomes in Zimbabwe, we get sanctioned. Because Jacob Zuma went and said, but Zuma, of which he even supported his own when they said Zuma must go. He was saying that is democracy in action. People must be allowed to protest. In his way of moving, he was like, look, it's democracy. If they feel what they did was right, who am I? I'm sad that he did that. But some people say because Zuma never spoke out, he becomes complicit. But does he speak out and get the country sanctioned? Does he speak out and himself, Mkhampe, ends up being killed? How do you move? Cyril, we laugh at him for being too diplomatic. But what do you want him to do? Because your heroes you love so much are dead. Ubigo spoke truth to power, ufile. Chris Hani spoke truth to power, ufile. Robert Mugabe spoke truth to power, his country was sanctioned. Muammar Gaddafi killed. Nfunani? Nfunu msholoza afe khona nizogqoka ikipa. Hey, our leader Zuma. Nfunu Ramaphosa speak truth to power, abulalwe. And then what are you going to do in your home? Are you going to buy local products? Are you going to work for local companies even if they cannot pay you? Are you going to volunteer your time to go and serve in politics, to go and teach at schools, even if they don't pay you, to go clean your neighborhood? Are you willing to do that? No, it's not my job. I pay tax. No, but how am I going to eat? No, but they can't pay me a fair wage. You're not willing to fucking do that, but you want other people to go and die on your fucking call. The thing, and that's the compromise that we find ourselves in. Penul is a sellout. AfriForum, simbona no rob herself. Wena usebenzela umlungu mos. Wena uthenga izitolo zabelungu. Uyangidakelwa mina, you don't even know what my agenda is out there. I push penalism. I've said I'm non-racialist. I said I'm willing to work with black. I'm saying it. So that if something happens, I'm like, hey, I never said guys, don't tuma mina. Ningang Don't tuma me. I'm trying to do whatever I can, and we drop education here. Nfunani. We're pushing local brands here. Nfunani. We're trying to create jobs out there with some of our mates, including some of my white mates, that create jobs for dark. Nfunani. These are Rob Hersoff, a passionate South African. Johan Rupert. They want this country to become Switzerland. That you don't even know and for people like myself. But we keep quiet because, again, we also don't want to catch stray bullets. Whatever agendas are being pushed out there. Julius Malema on a platform said, I think it was a white person on the other side, it was radio. He was saying the EFF is necessary because an unorganized, unled revolution will mean people like you and I, you're speaking to a white person saying you and I, who live in the suburbs, who live comfortably. When these angry, poor people get to a point where they want to revolt, who do you think they're going to come for? They're going to come for you and me. And these privileges we enjoy today, we're going to lose them. So the EFF is necessary as a pacifier and a valve so that these people know they have a leadership that speaks to them. Same way we've judged Cyril in retrospect. In time, we have to judge the EFF and Julius. Did these guys really serve the people? When they spoke land, did they make sure people got land? It's one of the things I was holding Andile Mkhukhu of the BLF to account. Why are you guys, and he gets angry when I raise this, and I raise it every time, I've raised it with the EFF. Why are you guys not setting up an AfriForum and getting us ordinary citizens to put in 50 Rand, 100 Rand? Take that money. We know the world is a mess. We know we're all captured. We know the systems are strong. We know. Take some of this money and go buy land and give it to the people. Take some of this money as the EFF, as the BLF, and say, we've just funded MOFAYA. We are investing in local businesses. Take this money and set up an entrepreneurship fund and say, we funded these entrepreneurs. We will put money in. I will put money in. I will put money into that thing and let us judge you in retrospect. Uguti, this is the work. But we can say, Uguti, Lomdeni Lo has got a home thanks to EFF. This person's got a job thanks to it. This is why people keep voting ANC. They wake up in an RDP, Danki Kongolos. Bambayola Ndumutuabe Clinic, Danki Kongolos. They send their kids to a no-fee school, Danki Kongolos. Their children buy at school, Siyabonga Nelson Mandela. And then from there, they go and they get a job somewhere thanks to BEE policies championed by the ANC. Siyabonga Ortam. Ingane yakho sihambe siyothola uNSFAS, siyofunda tertiary siyoba udokotela. Siyabonga Babu Sisulu. Siyabonga Khalima Motlanthe. ANC le. I can point to the you who want me to vote differently. You who want me to work for what are you doing? Ospuda in the streets, more fire. People will judge you in retrospect. There's haters now, they throw stones like they did with Jesus Christ. But so fetunako. Ningamxeka. Ngifuna ukukhuluma ngobiko. No ani naba ama revolutionary. Open bazama ukunifundisa every day ukuthi go pick up a gun. Bazama ukunifundisa patrol in your own neighborhoods. Imali yakho before uye store hey njoba ngiyothenga phela lo muntu lo uzongicindezela noma uzongikhulula. No, Uhuru. Awuthi ngithengela. Let me support you. Okay, bazongiholela u10,000. Laba hola u35. Ngizothatha u10,000 because I know in time I'm going to ask them, pay me 10,000 but also pay me in shares. So that when this business ipopa, I will also become a Stellenbosch mafia. I will become a whatever mafia from wherever in the world. And people will say, these are the guys that built this thing. But until then, it becomes tough.
The protests today, EFF protests, and to wrap it up, Transaction Capital and South African Taxi Association.
Oh, the Transaction Capital one is so tough, man. I'm gonna keep it short. Please go check out my channel, Penuel the Black Pen. I also kept it brief, there 10 minutes. Transaction Capital is a Jewish-founded company in South Africa which does financial services. They did loans through Bayport. They set up SA Taxi, which is the biggest funder of taxi, minibus taxis in South Africa. They've bought now We Buy Cars, which was actually founded by two Afrikaner gentlemen who their biggest investment was Naspers, again, the Broederbond, again, patriotism, supporting local. But they've sold out now to the Jewish-owned Transaction Capital, which had a 50% stake. I think it's gone up to 74%. The CEO of Transaction Capital, David Hurwitz, sold about 50 to 80 million Rand worth of his shares last year, December, which was fine then, especially if it's disclosed. It's a problem now because last week, Transaction Capital's share value went down 40% and then to 70% at some point. And now you have to ask, because they did a deal with the Santaco a couple of years ago, where they gave Santaco 25% of SA Taxi. Is it a matter of financial engineering? We'll sell you something, and then after that, we'll devalue your share so that whatever you own is worth nothing. Or now that it's worth nothing, a lot of BE transactions, by the way, have happened like this, where people sell you something. There's something called vendor financing, where they give you the shares, you pay back through dividends. And then closer to when the share scheme is done, the value of those shares get tanked to a point where your shares are now worthless. And they say, look, out of courtesy, we will buy them back at less than what they were worth. But you've already given them money plus interest from the vendor financing from your dividends. So you actually lose in that value, in that transaction. But that's a conversation to discuss the failures of BEE on another day. So there's a conspiracy theory around insider trading, a pump and dump scheme. I know David Shapiro on Twitter has been tracking this quite a bit. Another amazing Jewish gentleman and an analyst of the market. Madima, M-A-A-D-I-M-R-A. an amazing young black gentleman in South Africa, does a lot of these threads where he explains the economy and stuff. Please go check it out. And Ukaya Stole on Twitter as well. They drop bombs on a lot of these transactions just to go and learn the history of transaction capital. It was founded by some of the guys that came from African Bank. African Bank was involved in reckless lending. It was supposed to collapse like VBS. It was saved by the South African Reserve Bank and the big banks in this country, something that some people don't get favored. Same thing happened in America with the recession, where the American government saved certain banks. All animals are equal, some are more equal than others. Those guys went and set up transaction capital. Are we seeing the same thing now, where transaction capital might be tanked and they're going to dump the shares on some idiot who's not aware, and then later on they're going to set up a new company? If you study capitalism, boy, if you study the economy, global economy and history, you're going to learn a lot. And then I'm not joining the strike for the shutdown. Number one, because I don't think protesting works. If you want to protest with your rand, protest with your labor, protest with your voice on social media. For me, if you want to protest, Lentok Toy Toy are like clowns. Some people say protesting is what led to the end of apartheid. No. Sanctions. Having people go around the world from back in the day, Chief Albert Luthuli, that went to the United Kingdom and said our people are suffering. He's got an amazing book that you guys should check out called Let My People Go. Please go find that book and read it. Chief Albert Luthuli, Ekasi. Chief Albert Luthuli. The sanctions that happened around the nation, so the Afrikaans government, the apartheid government, couldn't make as much money as they could anymore. That's where Glencore was born, by the way, because Mark Rich and company made their most money supplying oil illegally to the apartheid government. And Mark Rich was a wanted man in America, again, speaking about gangs. Mark Rich and company eventually became Glencore, which today is working with Cyril Ramaphosa and Shanduga. Ironically, today, with Astron Energy and the like. I'm losing my train of thought. The sanctions were one. The other thing was June 76, where the students were gunned down. Not because they were protesting, but because they were gunned down. It became a worldwide spectacle, and a lot of people were upset about that. The story of Nelson Mandela, which was told through song, people like Hugh Masekela, even though Cyril Ramaphosa bites his song, Tumamina, Hugh Masekela, Miriam Makeba, and so many other people that kept the torch burning out there. That's what led Mamwini Matigizela Mandela, who was fighting on the ground here. People that were gunned down here. Not the toy-toying. It wasn't that people, the apartheid government said, oh, they're protesting in the streets. Let's shut it down. No, there were other things at play. And I'm telling you now, if you protest with your money, if you protest with your labor, just came CEO, I think was very malicious last year, where he published a thing saying that they need to hire more black managers. It trended. AfriForum was upset. Other white people were upset. What is this? Why are you saying white people mustn't be hired? I think it was very malicious of the Dis-Chem CEO. But they voted with their money, and Dis-Chem's shares tanked after that, because Gamla didn't take to the streets. They said, we will devalue your shares. We will not support Dis-Chem until you guys listen to us.
Hits you where it hurts.
It hits you where it hurts.
The pocket, yeah.
So for me, if you want to protest, do that. That's the one thing. The second thing is, I believe it's EFF campaigning, which they're allowed to do. They pretend it's for the nation. I don't think so. Load shedding is a problem. Cyril Ramaphosa, I've been saying, needs to go. The ANC government, I hope, goes under 50% personally. Not because I believe a coalition government will do well, but because I believe if we hold people to account, we might see better service. That's all I'm saying. But shout out to the EFF, shout out to Julius Malema, Floyd, and all the leadership of the EFF for at least doing something. You know, I hope that everything will go well. I hope that the guys who are planning to get up to mischief and do funny things will be kept at bay. Peggy Cele has said that the police are ready to take action. Other political parties, AfriForum has told some of their membership and other people that be vigilant. If people are coming into your neighborhood, coming to do funny things, make sure that they suffer the consequences. We saw the atrocities that happened, or the tragedies that happened with the looting and the riots in 2021 in Phoenix and in some of the neighborhoods. But always fight for what you believe in. Nelson Mandela said that the ideal that he was living for was one he was willing to die for. What is your ideal? Mine is penalism. Usbu believes in African spirituality, in Ubuntu. He's a passionate South African. He's a passionate humanist. What is the ideal that you're willing to die and fight for as a South African, as someone who says they want to change this country?
Drops Mike. Thank you.
We'll see you guys next week, man. The virtual Mkhukhu, don't forget to subscribe and click on the notification bell for the Hustlers Corner. We love you guys. We'll see you soon. And please comment below, especially on all the things that we were speaking about. Your thoughts on Muammar Gaddafi, Cyril Ramaphosa, which political party you're going to vote for. Did you join the national shutdown? What are you doing to end load shedding? You know, what do you think of what's happened with Paul Mashatile and DT Mabuza? What do you know about global politics, Vladimir Putin and the warrant of arrest? What do you have to say about some of the stuff that Manus Buddha was dropping here? We look forward to hearing from you guys. We love you. We appreciate you. We're out.
Check us out next door, the Hustlers Corner. And for those who are interested in investing in property, real estate in Johannesburg, beautiful opportunity in North Riding, courtesy of Ekasi Noble Property Development, an area that is in North Riding Equestrian Estate next to Olivedale Clinic, next to Honeydew Police Station, Cradle of Humankind, the N14 freeway next to Lanseria Airport, Clearwater Mall, next to Ramsey, next to Eagle Canyon, prime land, selling out really quickly. Investments start from 250,000 rands upwards for an equivalent of 250 squares stand. For those who live in Johannesburg, they'll tell you that Johannesburg North and that area that I was just speaking about, we've got a brand new smart city that has been pronounced by the president 2 years ago. That's coming up in the area. So a lot of the land in that area is appreciating in value very quickly. So this is a great opportunity. Get in touch with Ekasi Noble Property Development. I'm their ambassador, but I'm also a property investor. I do pick up some opportunities whenever I see fit. So get in touch with them. I'll see you guys next week. And thank you very much, Mr. Penn.
Thank you. Sorry again. Our sympathies and condolences to the families of Costa Titch and Usisi Gloria Bosman, and to any of you who may have lost a family member or a friend in the last week. We send our sympathies and our condolences. We hope please keep their legacies alive, and please don't ever abandon their children or anyone else that's related to them. If they had a dream, if they had a business, it's up to you to keep it alive. We love you guys, man. We're out.